Hey everybody, Stoney here with Honk Homestead. It's it's pushing 10, 9:30, and I just can't wake up today. It's a balmy 35, 36 degrees outside. The wind's blowing, taking it down to about 29. I went out earlier, hoping to show you a few things, but the older I get, the more the cold hurts. So I decided I'm just going to come in and we're going to have some more morning coffee. I want to talk to you about the rush to self sufficiency and the rush to homesteading. Um, the sudden interest in panic and animal keeping, gardening, these kind of things. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what I'm doing um, with this channel. But I've seen a lot. I've spent decades telling people to grow your own food, grow something of your own. I don't care if you live in a north facing high rise apartment in Chicago or wherever, Ontario, Toronto. It doesn't matter. Grow something, produce something, not only to feed yourself, your family, but something that has trade value. We've gotten so hooked on this idea of currency being paper dollars or whatever it is that you're spending where you're at, and the idea of credit, buy now pay later, and boy will you pay later. It's not healthy in a society. um, it's not healthy in a community. It's counterproductive to moving forward. As you can see in many places, uh, the benefit of that lifestyle and thinking trickles up, not down, trickles up. But after this pandemic, and with the current economy here in the United States, the interest in self sufficiency, gardening, homesteading, etc., has skyrocketed. It's been a slow burn. It's been going on for decades. Um, the back to the land movement in the 70s, um, even the so-called hippie communes, which were really just self-contained, self-sufficient communities back in the 60s. It's been going on for decades. A slow burn. For whatever reason, with the mentality that has been introduced in society in the last, say, 20 years, now we hit this pandemic, we have lockdown, we have job loss, we have this great resignation. Dumbest thing I ever heard of. Um, Shortages in the grocery stores, inflation across the board that's just nuts. And all of a sudden, this slow burn does this. Well, there's a downside to that. And the downside to that is you end up with a lot of people that are now struggling trying to figure out what they're doing with this lifestyle. There's people out there that can't keep a houseplant alive that are putting in great big backyard gardens. They can't figure out why things don't grow or why things turn yellow or uh, which one's the weed and which one's the carrot sprout. They can't figure out why the weeds took over their garden. They can't figure out how come the blueberry bush has all these little stems on it but no berries. All the berries seem to be gone. Where did they go? So we need to backtrack. I'm not saying don't chase this down. I'm not saying don't become as self-sufficient as possible. I'm not saying don't pursue a homesteading lifestyle. You absolutely should garden. Produce something of your own, not only to take care of your family, but to share, to develop true community like we used to have. I'm not saying don't do any of those things. What I want to tell you is educate yourself. Feed your brain. You are going into a lifestyle that has been beaten out of the general public. You are producing for yourself and removing dependency on systems. And in modern Western society, that's bad. Or so they tell you. But you got to educate yourself. I've got Brussels sprouts here on the table, the little starter plants. See if I can do this without knocking the phone over. See? And, people go out and they'll pick these things up from their greenhouse and they'll turn some dirt and throw some chemical fertilizer down and stick a whole bunch of these out there and go, okay, I love Brussels sprouts, so we're going to grow a whole bunch of Brussels sprouts. Well, are you aware that it's a cold weather crop and you're planting them in May, early June, in full sun with chemicals? Are you aware of the harvest aspect of the Brussels sprouts? How to care for them, how to keep pests off of them, how to ensure that you get a crop. And then you have, you got 42 of these things growing and they all pop at the same time. What are you going to do with 42 plants worth of Brussels sprouts all at once if you have never so much as put something in a Ziploc bag and put it in your freezer? How are you going to preserve this so that it lasts you until your next crop's ready? Chickens. I really shouldn't even get started on this, so I'm gonna touch the baseline here, okay? More and more and more, I'm seeing these folks, and best of luck and good wishes to them. I hope it works the way they think it will. But they're diving in head first without any knowledge. And I see them at the feed store all the time, and they're buying these $500, $600, $700 prefab chicken coops and standing in line outside the feed store half hour before it opens on chick day and buying 10, 20 chicks, or maybe they're only getting two. To go into that fancy chicken condo that they bought. Do you know anything about chickens other than the fact that they need some kind of cover and they lay eggs? Do you know anything about them? A lot of folks, I've run across a lot of folks that are shocked that a chicken can fly. It's a bird. Educate yourself. As far as I'm concerned, everybody should absolutely produce something of their own. But holy cow, come on, educate yourself, feed your brain, do everything you possibly can to prepare. I guarantee you won't be prepared. I don't care if you have a double PhD in self-sustainability and homesteading. You are not prepared. But you're going to be better off than the fella that moved his family from suburban Los Angeles to the mountains of western Montana and bought a couple acres and put in a chicken condo and threw a bunch of Brussels sprouts out in an open field. Educate yourself before you get started. Before you do the very first thing, educate yourself. That, above all else, will help you be successful and self-sufficient. The second thing, start stocking up before you get there. Find your seeds. Find your garden hose. Find your growing containers if you're going to container garden. Buy that brooding lamp and the chick feeders. When you run across them and they're available at a decent price, maybe even a trade, stock them up. Put a bin in your garage or even the trunk of your car and just fill it up with material that's going to help you get started, so that you're not scrambling to put it all together when you finally get to the place where you can start putting in a garden or chickens or whatever it is you're going to do. So educate yourself and start collecting your items to build your foundation. Lastly, I want to encourage you to step back about 50 years. In some places like this, you only have to go back 20 years to find it. But be willing to step back and have community. Danny from Deep South Homestead, I don't agree with a lot of things he says, and I know he's okay with that. But I'm not going to argue with him about it. That's what he feels. That's what he believes. And I hope that he would give me the same courtesy. And I believe he would. Because I believe Danny to be a good man. Working hard to take care of himself and his family. And work with his land. But he also talks about community. And try to develop that when you take the plunge. Try to develop that community. Produce things that other people in the community need, whether it's an item or a skill, and offer them without expectation of return. Okay? If you grow 500 watermelon and you don't sell them all at the farmer's market because that was your grand plan to support yourself, offer them to your neighbors, your community, the clerk at the little corner convenience store that's working for minimum wage. Ask them if they'd like a couple of these watermelons and just give them to them without strings attached. If people can educate themselves on self-sufficiency and a homestead mentality and working with their land, and people are prepared to do so before they start, and people actively work on developing community when they get here, I think we might stand a chance. I really do. Anyway, I'm going to go back and finish off my morning coffee. I hope you have a great day. I will try to be more consistent. In the meantime, go check out Danny at Deep South Homestead. He's got some good knowledge. That is a very wise man. You don't have to agree with his politics or his religion or anything else. And I know Danny's going to be okay with that because he's talked about it. You don't have to agree with me either. I still got to do what I got to do. Yeah. Have a good day. Peace. We'll see you back at our homestead soon.